Episode 71, An Unexpected Road Trip. You can never trust your secrets to a burrito. Yeah, they're always spilling the beans. And we're getting the new year off to a good start, aren't we? Welcome to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, entertain, and delight your ear holes with all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? That's how long it takes for my tater tots to be done. Yeah, I think I've used that one before, and it actually takes 18 minutes at 475 to make the perfect tater tot. Ask me how I know. You can listen to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Overcast, Breaker, CastBox, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher. But never iHeartRadio or Pandora. Those bastards they're just bastards. We'll leave it at that. You can contact the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. That's 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on our YouTube video or one of our many other social media platforms that we totally ignore 100%. And I don't even think we're on Twitter anymore. I haven't made a Twitter post in I don't know how long. Although Twitter is dying, but I have faith that Elon Musk is going to bring it back. Speaking of which, you can follow the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, but never TikTok. TikTok is a tool of the devil. The only thing TikTok is good for is watching girls twerk. Don't ask me how I know. All right, now we got all the boilerplate legal mumbo jumbo out of the way. It's 2023. Hope everybody had a good Christmas and a happy New Year. I spent the New Year camping and eating steaks and shooting guns with some friends. So we had a pretty good time. But I will get into that in another podcast. So with the way things run, you'll be hearing about my New Year's Eve on probably Easter. What I want to talk about today is right before Christmas, about a week or two before. I had some plans to go help family do some stuff. They kind of bailed on me at the last minute, left me high and dry. I sitting at home, didn't have anything to do. I was kind of aggravated. Perturbed, maybe. I don't know. Angry is not the correct word, but I was just disappointed. Disappointed fits the bill. And so I decided, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to just jump in the Jeep and drive. And that's exactly what I did. I jumped in my Jeep and I just drove. I started heading north. And I didn't really have a destination at first. And I pulled over to get some gas and just take a second to figure out exactly where I was going to go. And it dawned on me. I drive I-77 to Ohio all the time. I joke so much that I've done it that the truck just knows the way. There's a tunnel that we go through. Big Walker Tunnel. It goes under Big Walker Mountain or Walker Mountain. And when I look on the map at it, there's trails over top of the mountain. So as you're going through the tunnel, way up on top of the mountain, there's a road, a Forest Service road. And there's a bunch at the end of it, there's a bunch of little trails that go. At least that's what the map shows. Always wondered about it. Always wanted to check it out. It's about a 3-hour drive from me. Although Google Maps said I could do it in a little over 2. I think it said 2 hour and 15 minutes. In a Jeep, it's 3 hours. A little bit of a long drive. Not as long a drive as I've been on to get to other trails. But so I decided, hey, I'm already pointed this direction. I'm already 45 minutes into it. I was about a third of the way there. So I'm going for it. So I drove up 77. Very boring drive until you get to Virginia. Fancy Gap, the Cumberland Gap area. It's amazing. The vistas and views you see just from the highway is beautiful. So I get off on exit 47 and I go to the trailhead, or to the turn off from the main road. I should say main. Well, a turn off from the paved road. So I get to the trail, and it's a big, muddy, messy pit. And didn't even look like a road. It just looked like a driveway. It was nestled in between two houses, so it was kind of vague if it was private property or not. And I looked at it and I thought, man, it just didn't look appealing to me. Now, before anybody says anything, I'll be the first person to say, I am not afraid to get stuck in mud. And those of you that wheeled with me know, I think everybody has seen me get stuck in mud more than once. But I looked at it and I thought, man, I don't want to start off the trail like this. Let's see what the other end of the road looks like. So I drove about 15, 20 miles, give or take. I wasn't really counting it, in the other direction to the beginning of the road, or the end. And I tell you, there was a country store right at the beginning of the road that I wanted to check out, and it has a lookout tower, a 100-foot fire service lookout tower there. And it's let me see, it was BW Country Store. If you're there, I recommend stopping. Very friendly people, very nice. Climbed up the top of the tower. The views you see from there, holy crap. And when I climbed up the tower, they had a rain during the night, and everything was covered in ice. And let me tell you, you don't know fear until you climb up a sketchy built fire tower covered in ice in the howling wind. I'm not afraid of heights, and even I was clinging on to the railing. Yeah, I was a little nervous, but I did it. Glad I did it. Got an awesome picture of the valley. And then right at the country store across the street from it was the beginning of Walker Mountain Road. It's Fire Service Road 205, I believe, or 206, or Forest Service Road, however you want to say it. Glad I started that end, because it started out about 20 yards paved, and then it turned to gravel, fine packed gravel. It was very smooth. And then as you went up the mountain, it just got a little more rustic, I'll say, until finally it's just two tire tracks through the mud and the woods. Very nice. I got to tell you, this has been one of my favorite drives, easily. First place I came to, you're in the woods. I was all by myself, not a soul in sight until I got about halfway through. I ran across some hunters. But the first thing I came across was Big Bend picnic area. No sign labeling it. I thought it was a campground. It's got 4 or 5 picnic tables, and then remnants of a big fire pit type chimney barbecue thing. I didn't see any no camping signs. I think that would be a perfect spot to camp. Although a couple of people have told me it's an overlooked picnic area and you really shouldn't camp there. But I tell you what, man, if I'm up there and I'm tired, I'm going to camp there. That was beautiful. The scene from that overtop looking to the south was just beautiful. Further on down the road, I saw my first bald eagle in the wild. And I got to tell you, that made the trip right there for me. I wish I got a better video of it, but, the thing was flying pretty fast, and I didn't have time to grab the camera, but, that's how it goes. I got it locked in my mind. And as I drove a little further, about halfway through the trail, there was a gate, but it was open-ish, and I'll explain that later. And right then and there, the gravel stops. It turns into a trail. It got a little tight when I was there. Like I mentioned, it rained the night before. all the trees were covered in ice. I got some beautiful pictures of ice-covered trees, and the whole trail was just beautiful for that. But because of the ice, the branches hung low, and it seemed like the trail was a little narrow. I imagine in the spring or when there's no ice, it's a little bit wider, or it's wider now that I barreled through it. I took half, I took half the branches home with me. But as I passed that gate, I came across some hunters. They were kind of startled to see me. They asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm just driving by. And they looked bewildered. And so as I drove on that was the only people I see. Drove down as far as I could, couple of miles. The trail got really sketchy, dirty, muddy. I said I was by myself, broke the cardinal rule and went wheeling by myself, but I was careful. Didn't want to if I saw something a little sketchy, I didn't really get into it or made sure I had a way out of it. I got down as far as I can, and there was a tree in the road. I didn't have a saw with me, but I did have an axe, and of course I had my winch. I could have dragged the tree out of the road if I had to, but like I said, I was by myself. I was scared. Well, I won't say scared, but I didn't want to get in over my head. Last thing I wanted to do is snap a winch cable and hit me in the head and leave me unconscious, or the winch pulls my Jeep over the cliff. Or when you're by yourself, kind of take it easy-ish. You don't push your luck. So I saw potential for danger, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to back out and go the way I came. So I probably backed out about 200 yards up this mountain, and a very tight trail. You're up against the mountain on one side. You got, I won't say a cliff, but steep hill on the other side. Definitely would have caused some severe damage if you slipped off the trail. Backed up it, which was kind of easy to do because it was rutted, so you just put your tires in the rut and went. And I was kind of worried about getting stuck going backwards in it, but I thought if I made it through it, I can get out. Turned around, went back. A couple of hours it took me to get down there. It took me a couple hours to get out. Had a great time. The worst part was the long drive home, but I did it in sections. I got to tell you, the Virginia State Welcome Center on the North Carolina Virginia line sucks. That's all I'm going to say about it. It was horrible. The North Carolina Welcome Center, whole lot better. Driving down the road to north of Statesville, the rest area, beautiful. It's in the left hand lane, so it's serviced from both north and southbound. But anyhow, this ain't a podcast about rest areas. It's a podcast about wheeling. And so got a little statistics about Big Walker Mountain. I didn't even know it was Big Walker Mountain, but or it's called Walker Mountain, and it's really called the Walker Mountain Cluster because there's 4 mountains that make up Walker Mountain. There's Little Walker, Long Spur, Seven Sisters, and Crawfish that on all these mountains make up the Walker Mountain Range. What I was on was called the Seven Sisters. Why it's called Seven Sisters, I have no idea. 7 sisters would imply that they're 7 daughters of somebody, some very sad, miserable man, I imagine, if you had seven daughters. That was a bad joke. Anyhow, going back, I didn't get the altitude that I was at. I'll have to double check that. It was pretty high up. My ears popped when I was going up there and coming down. So you get to Big Walker Mountain, or the Big Walker Mountain Road, or Walker Mountain Road. You get to Walker Mountain Road off of exit 47 on I-77. And like I said earlier, it's Forest Service Road 206. It's in Wrightsville, Virginia. The tunnel on I-77 that goes under Walker Mountain is 4,200 feet long, and I believe it was made in 72. Walker Mountain Cluster is located in the Jefferson National Forest. And that seems to be a forest that kind of runs the whole state of Virginia. It's not a very wide forest, but man, is it long. And it looks like it's got a lot of fun trails. I'm definitely going to want to check them out someday. But driving that long in a Jeep, three hours in my Jeep is about all my back can handle. When I came home from that trip, man, I was wore out. So the Walker Mountain Cluster runs from Rural Retreat, Virginia on the south and ends in Polsky, Virginia. Yeah, I don't make these names up, man. So if you're in the area, I recommend driving the drive. And I almost forgot to mention about the gate. Yeah, about halfway through the trail, there was a big gate. It was open. I went through it, come across some hunters, drove on down as far as I can go, couldn't get any further, turned around, came back, and when I got to the gate, it was closed. So what I imagine is the 3 trucks of hunters, when they left, they closed the gate behind them. Now, I don't know if they closed the gate behind them to be funny, to mess with me, or if they opened the gate when they came in and left it open and then closed it back behind them when they left. But either way, it kind of freaked me out because I get in enough trouble with the law. I don't need to get trouble trespassing, especially when I didn't intend to do it. There's been some times when I broke the law and intended to do it, and if I got caught, I would accept it. But this, I was totally ignorant of it. It kind of messed me up a little bit. But reading about it, that the road's open pretty much to the public. Why there's a big nasty gate there, I don't know, but there was no lock on it. And my experience is 80% of the time Forest Service closes the road, closes a gate, they lock it. So people like me don't push it open. But that's about that. All right, so I rambled on long enough. Walker Mountain Road in Virginia. You got to check it out if you're in the area. I wouldn't go up there just to do it because there were some good sceneries. And I was in there in the wintertime. In the spring with the vegetation, you might not be able to see as much. But a very beautiful area. You got to go see it just to say you did it. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and listening. And until next time, this is Nikki G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.